The key to success on the field and in your backyard is a comprehensive game plan. So if you're building a fence or a deck this year, trust a Turkstra coach to design, quote, or order the right materials for your project. Visit a Turkstra Lumber near you to learn more.
From the Ticats Audio Network, this is the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker.
Welcome back to the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker. The Ticats are getting ready with a long week of prep for Game 2 of the season. That's at Toronto this Sunday, June 18th at 7 p.m. Coach, coming back from Winnipeg, obviously not the start that the Ticats wanted. As you're coaching your way through that film with your team this week, what jumped out at you?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was just our execution rate was low, and we got behind early and had to claw back. Proud of the grit and the way we fought. Very disappointed in just not making our plays when they presented themselves, and the fine fixtures and details as we go through the film. A lot of it there hadn't been any signs of that, to be honest with you, throughout training camp and those type of things. Even in the preseason game, while we didn't play perfect. Some of the things that showed up in the game we hadn't really experienced, and so we had to make some adjustments along the way. And you're playing, it's a good football team, and when you fall behind and you don't do the little things right against a great football team that's been in a championship game for 3 straight years, you end up with a halftime result that wasn't very nice looking. Yeah.
What are some of those things that were unexpected that came up, like game situation kind of stuff?
Yeah, game situation. We hadn't had any challenges getting off the field in second and long. We were hitting our explosion shots. Mm-hmm. Maybe they were drops, and had the one in the preseason game early against Toronto. But right. We had made big plays down the field. We hadn't kicked the ball out of bounds. On kickoffs, just things that were self-inflicted were just extremely frustrating, and that's not conducive to consistent winning football. And when that happens all at once, it's a lot. And when you do it against a great team, that's what happens. You get whooped early. And then once you settle in and stop doing those things and you start getting some completions down the field and you get off the field on second down and you have good punt placement and you kick the ball through the pipes and you don't throw interceptions, great things happen, and then it's a football game.
Yeah. You mentioned, there was just a few misses, especially with the long ball in the passing game. And to me, the question naturally arises: is it a result of quarterbacks and wide receivers who just haven't been together that long? Like, do you just have to wait until that gets corrected?
Yeah, I think sometimes at the end of the day, pro sports is, in some aspects, that's very forgiving. I always like to use the baseball example. If you go 3 for 10 in baseball, you're breaking millions of dollars, and you're doing really well. If you hit 3 of 10 passes, that's not good. If you get beat 3 out of 10 times as a DB, that's not good. Mm-hmm. So everything's not equal. So sometimes people have bad days. Some people strike out 3 times at the plate, and the next day they go 3 for 3, and it was just an off day. And so I can't tell you that it's going to get fixed in a week. I can't tell you it's going to get fixed in a month. All I can tell you is that we are going to address those challenges hard, and we're going to coach it. We're going to stay the process. We're not going to be discouraged because I know we're capable.
That's great. As an onlooker to a game like that, you mentioned the first quarter, it's almost like before you realize that there's some execution lacking, the score is already a little bit lopsided, and so it's hard to sort of wrap your mind around what happened or what to do. But as a coach, I imagine when you're getting back in the office, I assume you're sort of going through a process of turning that gray area into black and white. You're identifying lists of things that you can change, of controllables and uncontrollables, and does it sort of clarify in that day after the game that, it wasn't as lopsided as we thought it was. It was really came down to these 5 plays.
Well, I think you're always evaluating those things. You're saying, first of all, are we good enough? Do we have enough talent to win? Yes or no? Are we good enough? Are we just, is this a bottle of hope or what is this? Okay, if we are, great. Okay, how did we get beat? on, let's start, defensively. Okay, we fell down twice. Is that going to happen again? I don't know. You would think it wouldn't happen again. We drop an interception in the end zone that is just a dropped interception. Right. And you say, okay, is that going to happen again? Are we going to kick 2 balls out of bounds? Are we going to miss these overthrows? Moral victories stink, but you have to say, are these correctable? Are these correctable, and are they controllable? And I think that they are. And so then you say, okay, well, how are we going to fix it? What are we going to do? And then that's just kind of the process. And then you go to work, and you go to work on fixing that. And at the same time, you don't stay complacent, just there. You got to continually get better. That doesn't mean you add more always. Sometimes you subtract, but sometimes it just needs better execution. And, there's going to be days when we're going to hit all those, and the score will be that way in our favor.
Yeah, that's interesting insight there. That's clarifying as to the problems that you have, and helps to sort of identify how much of it is controllable. Just to ask the question, how likely is it that will happen again? And I guess a lot of times you're right. The answer is really maybe not that likely. There are some things that happen in football games that you just don't expect. I remember games like that, especially when it becomes a 2-score game in the first quarter. That's always, you're looking at a lot more game to play, and you have a mountain to climb. And sometimes in some teams, the energy, can get so low or so negative on the sidelines there. And of all plays in football, a blocked punt maybe is the best play to revive the energy of the sidelines there. Did you guys feel that in the third quarter when you got that block? Did the energy, reverse? Did it pick up?
Absolutely. I mean, I think you know from being there naturally, whether you knowingly or not, there's ebbs and flows of games, as they say. And we were having problems seizing the momentum. Like, they had it, and that was the first sign of, okay, we're putting a little stop in this here. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so you felt a little lift there, and like, okay, here we go. This is more like us. Like, we have playmakers on this team. We're going to make plays. We don't know who's going to make them. And it ended up being from 2 rookies, right? 2 first-year players, in Flowers Lloyd, and then obviously with Bayless falling on it there. That was a key point, and, at the same time, if that punt gets off, you're hoping we got great field position there, and Woods is going to do something with it. I felt we did a decent job in special teams, that we were close. And I thought, you're not going to break everyone. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, we were close to breaking, but giving the ball across the center line is very conducive to winning and complimentary football.
Yeah. First play of the game across the center line from your return unit. The 2 huge special teams plays. I mean, really close to being 2 special teams touchdowns really in the game. And then of course you get a defensive touchdown as well. Those are obviously encouragements and victories, and small victories for the team. What else did you take away from Winnipeg? What were you talking about with the team as far as what was encouraging, what they did well?
No, the effort was extremely high. And when you turn the tape on, you're going to see people not quitting, running to the football. The goal line stand was a testament of who we are and how we're built. The offense coming down and scoring that 2-point play at that crucial time to make it an 8-point game, when if they don't get it, it's a 9-point game. And then we're in a whole different realm. Are we onside kicking? Is there enough time? You're into that whole game. So you saw a lot of resilience. And then the fact that we had to put Casey Sales in at guard, move Brandon Revenberg to tackle. We have the right people, and that's important. Sometimes you don't know that you have the right people, and not because they're bad, just it doesn't fit the team, right? It's, oftentimes people always keep the right experience to do the job, but we just truly believe around here that you got to find the right people to join your team, and I do think there's a distinct difference there. So taking away effort, and obviously just the resilience in the second half of people stepping up. Can you touch on the Casey Sales change in the game? I mean, a new guy on the Ticats roster in a first game of the season. Was he told that he was the 7th guy in? Yeah, we always have that every week, and and Teddy's even the emergency after that. So you just you know about it, but how often do you ever get to it? And that's just huge. I mean, nobody will notice that. Some people listening are going to say, "What?" Yeah,
Right.
I mean, we have a D tackle at guard, and Revenberg moves to tackle, and we don't have certain packages on offense. There's not a plethora, and those aren't excuses. I'm just telling you the news. Those are the facts of what happened in the game, and I'm telling you that I'm proud of how, you got a guy that's paid to go get the quarterback, and all of a sudden he's took 0 reps, and now he's protecting the quarterback on a cadence against, some pretty good people there. So just super proud of just the willingness. You can always get people to participate, but I think the key word is always willing. Mm-hmm. Can you get them to willingly participate? We have those people.
Yeah. And for a casual listener, maybe that, especially if you have a lot of experience with other sports, like, from going from a hockey defensive to a forward, or certainly in basketball, those are all similar body types. And yes, offensive line and defensive line, similar body type too. But you're talking about two different football minds, right? Mm-hmm. That's a whole different way of thinking, and to just have to be able to plug and play in the middle of a game. That is not an easy transition to make. So. Good for him for being able to, like you said, be willing and able to make that change. That's pretty impressive.
No, I couldn't echo it any better. But the odd thing is, not to downplay it or to water it down, is to tell you that I'm surprised that Casey did that. It would be a lie, because that's just who he is. But it shouldn't be downplayed. Just all the snaps he took.
Yeah. Well, on to Toronto now, Coach. It's their first game of the season, which is sort of that unusual first week bye week for them, but unusual for you that for the second week in a row, you don't have live film to watch as you prepare for the team you're going to play. You're coaching your way into this game. What's on the must-do list for your team? What do you demand from these guys as they go to Toronto?
Just to be better than we were last week. It's a process. Along the process, you need to win. That's a given. Mm-hmm. Winning is a byproduct of staying the course, figuring out your football team, doing the little things that make the big difference. That's really what it's about. It's about deliberate practice. What are we going to work on that we didn't do well? That'll start today, and we go out there, and we'll call it a day 0, and we'll get to work on some of the things. We'll implement a little bit of the plan. But yeah, this is a unique situation where they're going to be extremely fresh. It's their home opener, and then you add there is no week 1 film, and that's just what it is. So what another great opportunity to really hone in and focus on yourself, because you really don't know what you're preparing for. Yeah, there's film from last year in the Grey Cup, and yeah, you use those as guide markers, but at the end of the day, they're going to have a different identity. They have a different quarterback. They've got different people. The schemes may remain relatively the same, but nothing ever really stays the same, and we won't stay the same.
Yeah. Do you have a sense for Chad Kelly yet, or what to expect, or is there a game plan that suits going in against a quarterback like that?
Nah, just, obviously he's super mobile. He's confident, seems to love football. Came in and, some would, argue that, without him, maybe they don't finish that Grey Cup. Mm-hmm. He's been in a big game. He's a champion, part of a championship team. So he brings that, and I'm sure he's going to evolve, right? There's certain things that in their offense that they probably didn't put in last year because of the different skill set of McLeod, Bethel Thompson. So, we'll see. And, he hasn't played 4 full quarters, of a game. So, we know what his skill sets are, but we don't know exactly how they're going to exploit those.
Yeah. Coach, let's get into a fan question here. Every week on the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker, we have one question from fans, and you guys can email those into gameday@ticats.ca. This is from Mike on the Mountain. Coach, How are the uniforms decided on? Do you and your staff pick each week, or is it decided in advance? Any superstitions with what uniform combos have won or lost recently? Thanks, and go Ticats.
Interesting question. I appreciate it. No, we do not vote on the uniforms. Our equipment guy, along with Matt Afnick, and all those things are established ahead of time. You do have to declare what you're going to be wearing and what your road uniforms are and that sort of thing. But it is not decided on by me or the coaches. I think they've showed me a few times, like when we've brought out the new grays and those type of things, and they kind of say we're going to wear these on Labor Day, and we're going to change our helmet. I guess it'd be decals versus decals, depending on how you were raised with it. Those type of things happen, but really, it's all kind of predetermined.
What about, do you think, does Drew take into account superstitions or the win-loss records of those uniforms?
We'll have to have him make a guest appearance on here and really figure out. Yeah, that'd be good. Just a little inside-out perspective on it. But that, man, talk about people that contribute to winning that never show up. There's all those people behind the scenes, from therapists to equipment to, there's just so many ticket sales. You could go on, but when you talk about the equipment, folks, man, they grind.
Yeah.
Do they grind? And that's not a disrespect to everybody else who grinds. I'm just saying it's a different type of deal.
Oh yeah. I mean, the business office is they're grinders too. The difference is that
Yes.
equipment and training, they live the hours and lifestyle of coaches. They have an unusual and intense work schedule, but yeah, full of great people. We should have Drew on to talk about his strategy
Yes.
or thought process of uniforms. Interestingly, RJ actually in our broadcast each week, we're the audio network, right? So he paints the picture with talks about the uniforms and the helmets, but he actually does keep the win-loss record of uniforms in his
I love
notes. It. Yes. So he has maybe some insight into that, but Mike on the mountain, thanks for the question. That's great. Again, send your questions to gameday@ticats.ca and we'll pick one for Coach each episode. The Coach O Show with Luke Tasker is presented by Turkstra Lumber. Check out the project coaches at Turkstra Lumber. They can help with every part of your home reno, from designing a deck to ordering a new front door. Learn more at turkstralumber.com. Coach, as always, I appreciate your insight and your time. Good luck with the day zero practice, and looking forward to this Sunday night.
Thanks, Luke. We'll see you next week.
Another episode of the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker is in the books. Let us know your thoughts. Email us at gameday@ticats.ca. Coach O and Luke are back next week to discuss the latest from the locker room. Subscribe to the Ticats Audio Network on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.